Two of the victims of the Amtrak derailment near Tacoma, Washington, on Monday, Zach Wilhoit and James Hamra, were close friends and rail enthusiasts who were traveling together on the train's inaugural journey. "It was just a given that they would be there," said Lloyd Flem, a colleague and friend. "They had wanted to be on that very first run." M.R. Flem, the executive director of All Aboard Washington, a rail advocacy group, said in an interview on Tuesday that he had seen both men just a few days before. "They were their usual happy selves," he said, eager to board Amtrak's train No. 501 early Monday morning. Both M.R. Wilhoit and M.R. Hamra were passionate about rail transportation and the possibilities it offered for the Pacific Northwest. For M.R. Hamra, 61, trains were a century-long family legacy, said his brother, Michael Hamra, who spoke from his home in Tacoma. Their grandfather worked for the Chicago, Milwaukee, St. Paul and Pacific Railroad, which no longer operates. Their parents met in the early 1950s as employees for a railroad in Montana. "We have always had trains in our blood," M.R. Hamra said, recalling a childhood where model train layouts were always under construction in their home. James Hamra never married or had children, his brother said, and helped care for their mother, Carolyn, who is 89. He worked as a civil engineer for the Washington State Department of Transportation before retiring several years ago, and spent much of his time since then indulging his passion for travel and for trains. "He's been all over Europe and Africa, Australia," M.R. Hamra said. "He chases trains. He's got a radio that connects to theirs. He'll take trains to Montana. He's got quite a collection of photographs of them." James Hamra formed a fast friendship with M.R. Wilhoit, 35, both of them were volunteers for All Aboard Washington. M.R. Wilhoit worked as an information technology specialist for Pierce Transit in Lakewood, Wash. His employer confirmed his death. M.R. Wilhoit had worked for the agency since 2008 and was deeply appreciated and admired by his colleagues, the statement said. He was married, an avid comic book reader and a Star Wars fan, according to M.R. Flem of All Aboard Washington. "He got a kick out of old buses," M.R. Flem said. He owned an old transit bus. His nickname was Bus Dude. M.R. Flem said he was too stunned to completely absorb the deaths of his friends. "They're two of the hardest of the hardcore, dependable people," he said.